Hey y'all, so Chantel here. I sound a bit congested, y'all. I'm fighting off something, but this is my second time recording this. I recorded the first time, but I don't think that the sound was right. So several things. The yapper and me don't know where to start. So let me start there. I would like to share my testimony because I believe that there are a lot of people, especially young people, that are following my journey but don't understand, or perhaps don't have a full idea as to how I can present myself as the Chantel that you see today. And I have to provide context in every way. I have to provide context from the angles of a little bit of my mom, right? A little bit of family background and a little bit of different scenarios in my life that came to break me. And actually, the older I've gotten, realized came to kill me. So, my mom got saved when I was about, I want to say 5 or 6 years old. I think 6 years old. I remember it very clearly. I remember her being extremely broken. My mom had suffered the loss of two sons, and she was definitely at her ends meet. Like, she was at the end of the rope. And I remember her devoting her life to the church that I attend now, which is New Haitian Mission Baptist Church, that's shepherded by Reverend Dr. Shirley Sixante. I remember her submitting herself to the Lord, and that submission changed the trajectory of my life. And I say that because it's not because I don't believe that the Lord would have gotten me any other way, but I believe that her yes secured a yes for me. So I ended up going to that church. I grew up in the church since then to now. And I've had many obstacles. Some I've never shared, some I have shared. Some to this day I'm a little too embarrassed to share, because I wonder, like, why would this happen to me? So after my mom got saved, let's fast forward to through my life. Teen life, I knew about the Lord. People who went to school with me would know, like, I talk about the Bible, but it's from a very religious standpoint. I don't think that I had a full relationship with the Lord. Fast forward. I graduated school. I graduated high school. But when I graduated high school, I wasn't too sure which way I was going to go. I knew that I wanted to be in business. I remember always saying, I don't want to be stuck to a desk. I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to be doing that. I don't think I was as studious as I could have been when I was in high school. I had went to my school for allied health, but it wasn't health in, like, mm-mm. It wasn't for me, y'all. It wasn't for me. So I switched to business, and till this day, I think that was a very, very good decision. But there were many different decisions that I made, even in high school, coming out of school, that I would have changed. But I'm very thankful for the hand that the Lord had on my life, that it did not completely cause, it didn't stain me. Fast forward, I started COB, which is now the University of the Bahamas, but I wasn't as steadfast, I wasn't as serious as I should have been. But also, it was me realizing, or taking, not realizing, but a lot of the spiritual warfare I dealt with started around that time. Let me not say it started around that time. A lot of things took place that I could not put into words what they were. They were attacks, but I didn't have the language for it now, which is spiritual warfare, and warfare in different senses. And so I remember, wanting to complete my degree, but as soon as I graduated high school, I was working. Though I had started school, I needed to do several things. I needed to pay the rent. My mom wasn't working at the time, so I've been working since I got out of school. I needed to pay rent. I needed to do this. I needed to do that. And I remember with my full-time job that I had to try to take classes after the fact, right? You know, like if you ain't get the right lecture you need to get, then dog eat your lunch. So that's what that was for me, like not being able to have what I really needed to be as successful as I needed to be, especially when I did start to focus myself off of friends and who could have been and what could have been, all those different things, y'all. That's when it really dawned on me that the enemy really hates me. Like, don't want me to have nothing. So I had went into the pageant in 2013. I didn't have the first, second, or third clue what I was doing, but I did know that I wanted to show up for other young people. I knew that for sure. And well, my life bear fruit of that. And that really was the case. And that started my journey. But what a lot of people don't know is that when I shared about my temporary homelessness in 2020, that wasn't the first time that me and my mom had been evicted from anywhere. So it wasn't as if, oh my God, this was new, but it was definitely a cycle, a season that the enemy wanted to be on repeat. You know what I mean? And there's different areas of your life you'll realize that the enemy just wants to have that go in a loop. You know what I mean? So fast forwarding, I did Miss World Bahamas in 2014, did not win. I did Miss World Bahamas in 2015 and I won, but I believe that a lot of the things that I was expecting from that journey that the Lord didn't allow to take place because I would have given the credit to other people for what he was doing. Sincerely, I would have. And so I was disappointed with my reign in 2015. I felt mishandled in 2015 as a queen during that time as well. But I don't believe that I had the audacity that I have now to stand up for myself and say that this doesn't make sense. So I did, but I didn't call out the things that needed to be fixed. I've since forgiven that part of my life. I've forgiven my role in it, and I've forgiven the roles that other people played in it. But it was just a testament of a lot of things that took place. But anyway, between all of those different times, I had certain situations. So it was always one thing after the next around a certain period of time. So I remember um, this is after I had left school. I had just started COB. And I literally was on my way home. This is when I lived in the Engliston area. I was on my way home. And this guy I do not know approached me and, approached me in a way that it was like, let's not. And I watched me have to like fight for my life on Wolf Road, y'all. And I watched people just drive past. And so when we hear about different things now with women being attacked or whatever, people will literally not check for you. Like they don't care. They think that you're in a situation. I don't know that man from a can of paint. I was super young. I don't know that man. And you could have seen that I did not know that man. But nothing really came out of that. They arrested him. Maybe they beat him up. I don't know. Nothing really came out of that. So there's that. And I remember there was another situation where a man literally put his hands on me when I was taking the bus. And nobody stood up for me. Not even somebody who was on the bus who I knew very well. He didn't say anything. And actually, I've seen many times in my life, and that's also an area that the Lord is working on me on, where men don't speak up for me. Like there will be guys that will not speak up. Perhaps they're assessing the situation. Perhaps they're assessing their safety in the situation. But I found that security is a very big deal for me. And I believe that was a huge lack in my life. One, being in a single parent home. Two, the loss of brothers. Three, just what the example has been like. Even though I know that there are great men around me. So don't get me wrong. There are great men around me. I know great men. But in those certain situations that I was in, I had to stand up and fight for myself. Fast forward, at one particular point in time, even right before I even jumped into the whole pageant thing, I remember I was staying with a friend because my mom was going to be traveling on a mission trip. And literally where we stayed at, her house, the apartment was broken into. And my mom literally had to fight for her life. Y'all, she had to fight for her life. So when people see my mom, I love that y'all love on her because she's had a life. She had to fight for her life. And let me tell you something, my mommy's a G, because she still went on that mission trip. She fought for life. When we got there, the next day I knew something was wrong. I could feel it in my spirit. When we got there, blood was everywhere. It was terrible. And it was somebody in the neighborhood that apparently knew that she was going to be traveling. She had shared with the neighbors that she would be traveling. I mean, that's not something that you think anybody would attack you for or think that you have money for or whatever have you. And that happened. My mom the next day, she was sure on that flight, she was gone. She went to that mission trip. Fast forward, at one particular point, my mom was held up at gunpoint. Right? These are examples of how many times the enemy tried to either take her out or take me out. And then the last point was when we were on our way to church. Our church is like a 3 to 5 minute walk away from our house, literally right up the road. And we were on our way to church, and this guy that lived in the area, not friends, not associates, nothing like that. You know, you live in the area, you see people, you say good morning, good night, good afternoon, but it's really nothing. I mean, literally attacked us. But I think what broke my heart more about that situation wasn't just him attacking us, it was the people that I literally grew up in that area. And they said nothing. They did nothing. They actually blamed us. And I remember that day, clear as day, when the police finally arrived. And apparently I learned afterwards that this guy, must he had a family member or whoever that, of authority, whatever, who knows. The police officer, I remember trying to explain to the police officer what happened. I mean, blood is on me, all of the things. And I tapped him on the shoulder, y'all. And I remember him looking down at me. And I don't want to cry because, y'all, I catch in the flight later, y'all, and I try to mess up my makeup because that's it. I had to pack up my bag already. I hope that ain't over 50 pounds. But I remember him looking down at me, and he was like, don't touch me. And I would remember him. I don't remember his face right now. I don't remember his number. But if I ever see him, I would remember him. He said that to me. And I was so taken aback. And I remember us getting to the police station. Apparently, when there's a complaint, whoever calls first or something like that, I don't know if that's correct, but whoever calls first is the person that, I don't really remember how it works. And we got there, and I was hysterical. I was emotional. I was crying. My mom was bleeding. My mom nose broke. My mom looks different, y'all. Like, who y'all see her? She didn't look like that. And I just... Okay. So, yeah. The reason why I do feel like in some ways I'm sharing this is because being someone that's become a public figure, I believe the enemy did everything he could to break me down before I could even imagine that I could be in the space that I'm in now. And every day he's trying to find new ways. I mean, the enemy is persistent, okay? And you have to be more persistent than he is. You have to be literally, you have to realize that you're in a race for your life. Literally. So fast forward, I remember we were in some interrogation room. I can't remember if this was after. And we were in there with two officers. One of the officers I've seen more than once. One is a gentleman. He apologized to me, but every time he sees me since then, he tries to avoid me. Like, I saw him in the airport one time, and he turned, I already recognized him, but he would not see me because he knew what they did was just, and he was in it was him and another officer, a female officer, and she was just in there saying things like, oh, you think because you're going to COP, you think you better than me, you think you da-da-da-da, you think you all that, I have 2 or 3 degrees, all these different things, and I didn't even know what this lady talking about. Y'all, I sitting there confused. We sitting there, no lawyer, no nothing, what's going on, because it's like, what are you talking about, man? It's like, nobody thinks anything, But let me tell you something. That lady sure did run on and on and on. But anyways, and then it came in, like, we had to sign in every Sunday. Imagine, criminals signing in every Sunday. And for the sake of privacy, for the other people that did stand up for us at that time, they were subjected to that as well because they had an uproar about it. And like I said, nobody else did anything or said anything. They were just on the side of the guy who was a drunk in the community. He was this, he was that. And that's not to further, not to say that we were better than him because of his state, but just to put a little context as to like what we were dealing with at the time. And I pray that he found the Lord before he passed. He did pass. I pray he found the Lord before he passed. But so all of that is between, all of these things took place between 2013, 2015 roundup. 2018, 2017, between 2016, 2017, I had already started LLP, which is Leading Ladies. 2017, I had the desire to go off to school to try to finish. That didn't work out, but I met some really great people. That didn't work out. But when I came back, I was so depressed. I didn't know what to do. The finances just wasn't in place or whatever. These are more than enough times that I've went out on faith, though. I was talking the other day about like having like a big, you have to have a large deposit of faith for what God has for your life. But I be moving and not knowing what's going to happen next. And sometimes I just fall flat on my face and I just be like, God, what's going on? But like, I do be thinking, I think he appreciates that. Like, I think he's like, I might not have tell you to do that just now, but it's good to know that you banking on me still, you know? But anyways, I came back and I was like, Lord, what's gonna happen? What am I gonna do? And I ended up started coaching or whatever. And there are people that gave me chances straight out of the gate. People like Novato, he had the Miss Grant franchise for the Bahamas at the time. At that time, Joe Stubbs, this is when University of the Bahamas had just started, and he gave me that shot. So like people were, you know, they were giving me a chance to show what I could do. That's when I was called Perfect Stance Consulting. But anyhow, so fast forward, this business, highs and lows. My highs are my clients, like when they do well and they're this, and they could tell me like the impact, the influence, because I believe that I'm anointed and graced for this. Because the things that I could do now, I couldn't do during my pageant competition days, my 2013 and 2015 competition days. I was not doing what I was doing up until I got my studio space that I no longer have, but that's a different conversation for a different day. I couldn't do the things that I'm teaching my clients how to do, and I believe that that was all a part of the process. I believe that the Lord literally supernaturally gave me the ability to do the things that I'm doing and gave me the ability to do it the way that I am doing it, which is a blessing. But my clients are my highs. My lows is that I'm like, Lord, John 15:5 says that you're the vine, I'm the branch. When I remain in you, you're me, I'll bear much fruit, because apart from you, I can do nothing. So when I bear the fruit that you was talking about, and when I bear much of it, I'm like, you want me leaving? You want me to stop doing this? Because what you doing? You know what I mean? Like, what's it going to take? You know? Fast forward, 2020 came, y'all. I just quit my job in 2019, and I mean, I don't regret that, but I quit my job in 2019. I was literally dealing with warfare at my job as well, that I didn't know was warfare as well, but it was warfare. And since then, I've gotten even more context for that. Like, since then, I was dealing with a manager at the time who I just didn't feel like she respected me or whatever have you. And since then, like, she reached out to me. Actually, last year, she reached out to me and she said, listen, at that time when we were working together, you know, so-and-so, but also, like, I was prejudiced towards you or whatever. Like, she admitted that. And I knew she was being sincere about it. I accepted that. And I had forgiven her before, but you know that it'll be like a real forgiveness when you actually like, it'll be like, oh, okay, I ain't really gonna let you go, because you know for sure, like, you're accountable for sure for your actions. And he was fast forward, 2020 came, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna coach, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Y'all, the panoramic came and I was like, why is this pandemic here? I didn't establish myself enough for this. I don't know. But I don't know how I was even supplying myself. We'd gotten evicted. The landlord at the time, may he rest in peace, for the studio was still very lenient. Like, he tried his best. And then we were in court for this and everything, y'all. And I ended up having to pay monthly this and monthly that. And then the Lord was so kind, where the landlord at the time was like, just forget it or whatever. I remember coming out of the courthouse, y'all, I was in my car crying, sobbing and weeping. And I was like, freedom. So bless his heart, because it's not easy, because everything is a business at the end of the day. You want to bless people, you want to be generous, but at the same time, like, you know what I mean? Like, so I understood his positioning, but I'm also very grateful that he was gracious enough to, like, just say, go on about your business now, child. Fast forward, I was staying with my church friend. Shouts out to Paula, our family, Divine, the entire family. I don't know how God created them, but he created them specifically and specially, boy, because there's something about that family. I can't put my finger on it, but the grace on that family is crazy. They were very hospitable to me up until we left, but until I left, me and my mom were separated for the time that, from we got evicted. So I positioned her somewhere. I don't even know where the money came from. To be honest, I don't know where the money was coming from. I don't know what was going on. Positioned her, and I was living with them, and it was just like, okay, God, so what's next? And I remember 2021, I came into it just when crazy faith was the thing, right? Pastor Mike taught had that crazy faith thing going on, and I was like, yeah, I'm on that. 2021, I came in like, Jesus, whatever you have for me, I want. You want me to go this way? Gone. That way? Gone. Up, gone, down. Whatever you want. I'm going to do it. I was there thinking I was going to be employed in the U.S. and all how crazy my faith was. I was delusional. Okay, I was delusional. I was like, okay, I'm going to go and see if I can interview for this job, and if they really want me, blah, 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 blah. Y'all, in the United States of America, delusioned. Hello? Delusioned. And everybody else was delusioned for believing in me for that. Lord. But I give God thanks for people like that, though. So I ended up staying with a friend of mine who was living in Miami at the time. And I remember one day after going through all of the process or whatever and realizing, no, this isn't it. This is not what's going to happen. But my faith was on 1,000, y'all. The Lord placed in my spirit to compete for Miss Bahamas Universe. And I was like, I've never felt that way. I've never wanted to compete for Miss Bahamas Universe after competing for Miss Universe Bahamas at that time. In 2013, I've never felt that way. After I got done, I was like, I watched Miss Universe every year. I went to Miss Universe in 2019. Nothing. At Miss Universe in 2019, I was looking at everything like, ooh, that's nice. I was not like, oh my God, I can see me on the stage. Not at all. I was working with people who were preparing for Miss Universe, to compete for Miss Bahamas Universe, and still did not have an inkling of a feeling to compete for it. At all. At all. And so when he placed that in my spirit, I was like, God, you gotta be choking, like, leave me alone for real. Like, let's do some other stuff. Like, what you got for me? Because being in this industry, y'all, especially as a believer, I felt inferior so many times. I felt like, oh my God, Lord, like, you could have given me anything to be great at. Like, why you got me great at this thing that is looked down upon by most people? Like, I remember I went to, like, this youth panel, and somebody came on the mic and they were like talking about modeling and swimsuit photos or whatever and confidence and all those different things. And that's a different topic for a different day. But fast forward, the first lady at that time, I don't know if she even remembered this, but she was like telling me how this is what she used to do when she was in the world and blah-de-dee, blah-de-da. And I'm sitting there, y'all, ain't nothing like when God is giving you a calling and you looking at somebody crazy. Especially when you sitting up there and you know everybody business in the church, like you know the people, the young people business, and they here trying to check you on what God called you to. And it's no disrespect to the person that came on the mic at that time too, because it's all good. But I knew what she was doing when she wasn't in the church. So I just felt some type of way. So this is the way that the enemy try to get you to like even side eye other believers, because everybody else can point the finger, but nobody gonna be like, well, so that was before I won Miss World Bahamas, right? That happened. And so when I won Miss World Bahamas, I was like, oh my God, well, Jesus, if I didn't listen to you, I wouldn't win, right? So fast forward, I'm doing God told me to do it. I told my friend Alice, I told a few people, and they were like, Alice was like, yeah, you about to place. You about to be the first to do it. I was like, well, let's win locally first. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, he was already at Miss Universe. And I was like, okay, I'm trying to go with you. And I told people, and I thought they would have been like, girl, you need to just don't do it. And they were like, Yeah. So when I saw things like that fall into place, I saw myself trying to get physically ready for it. I almost didn't even go to the screening. I didn't have anything to wear. My best friend Michelle was like, "Girl, are you crazy? Come in this closet and pick something, please. You better go because even my friend Paula was like, girl, that's a formality. You just need to show up. That's a formality because they know you're gonna interview well. They know that And since then, the Lord literally was building me, like in terms of my community work. That was out of heart, not out of position. It was out of heart. Like, you've been doing this. This is for you to do. So, gone into the competition, won the competition. Um, so you go from 2013 back-to-back losses to being one of the few queens to compete and win international titles and compete on the world stage. And not only that, but both times that I've competed, I've brought people with me. So, and I say that to say that anything that the Lord will have you do, it ain't gonna just be for your benefit, right? It won't be just for the glory of yourself. It'll be for His glory, but He'll bring other people with you. So, going to Miss World, having June Believe come and perform because they loved the performance that I did, because I had asked him to use this music when I went, and he was like, for sure. And that wasn't the first time I asked him to use this music, and he was like, go ahead, right? I asked him for permission. And I remember after doing the dance or whatever, and they were playing it again and again, and I was like, oh, something about to happen. And then I was hearing like, oh, they thinking about bringing them up. I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? So though I didn't place at that competition, I placed in top 30 for talent. I danced, y'all. Top 30 in talent, and then y'all brought him over. Like, that to me was great, right? And then fast forward, the Lord was like, okay, we're gonna do this. So the Lord answered a prayer that was 8 years old, y'all. I prayed the prayer to win, to go to Miss Universe, eight years prior. So in doing that, it was like, okay, cool, no worries, we compete. I'm a hustler, y'all. I hustled for that. And I'm saying my truth on camera because I hustled for that. I worked for that. I got the right people. I talked to the right people. The right people went out and helped me and invested in me. Money, time, effort, expertise. Like, we worked for that. The Lord made sure that I had the people for it. And so I will always advocate for me and fight for me and fight for the people that literally believed in me when I had nothing else but a dream. You know what I mean? So fast forward now, went to Miss Universe. I saw the glory of the Lord in every way, shape, and form. I don't know what to tell y'all. It was something different. I was at peace. I didn't room with anybody at Miss Universe. I don't know why that was. I wasn't asking no questions, but I believe that the Lord was specific about that. I remember coming out of quarantine because there was like a little COVID scare in the beginning. And I remember I was still at peace, even being in the room. I remember watching Miss USA, watching who was going to get crowned to come to Miss Universe. Like, I was just like, it was like business as usual. Everybody on my team checking in on me, Dina checking in on me, my mentor checking in on me. Like, listen, I went out there. When I got out there, I was like, bet, let's go. I've been missing. Here I am. You know what I mean? And I was all the glory of the Lord. I don't think I would ever have that confidence being around all of those women in 2013 compared to 2021. I would not have that confidence to be around all those beautiful, accomplished women. 2013, I would have been competing against. 2021, I was competing with. It was a complete difference. And just being able to like go through the motions of everything and make it like, even though the Bahamas being changed to the Bahamas, that was on their part. I was like, well, let's not change that now. We're going to keep that because we are we are the Bahamas. And even in that, like, advocating for myself in that, because it was one of the things I was saying in judges interview. They're like, you working really hard for this the Bahamas. I said, listen, it's been a talk. Is it listen, the Bahamas, let's go. It is what it is, But fast forward from there, y'all, this testimony is long, so I'll definitely cut this up in parts. Fast forward 2022, let me tell you something. I never knew I had haters until I knew I had haters. You feel me? I mean, people disliked me. People lied on me. People talked bad and down on me. People who shared my stuff, praising me, and then in closed doors teared me down. It was devastating to learn those things, and I won't even get into that. But it was devastating to learn those things. But even now, fighting and pulling on this identity, I remember coming back and I asked the Lord for forgiveness every time, because one of the Minister Bolag said this to me. He was like, so much more to come. And I immediately thought in my head, what more? What else God could do for me? Lord, forgive me for that. So I already started to limit. Y'all, I already started to limit. So when I say share this testimony, I want y'all to know that every day is like a process. You know what I mean? I was going to these events. I was getting invited to events because of who I was in my title. But I remember sitting in a room with like a bunch of like powerful women. And I was just like, what's happening here? Like, what am I doing here? Like, it wasn't imposter syndrome. It was something else. It was something else. Because I knew why I was in the room. It just was like, I don't even know. Perhaps somebody who's watching this will be able to give me the words for it. But I just felt like, what's going on? Like, what is this? And then I stopped wearing my sashes places, because I just was like, I'm more than just Miss Bahamas. I'm more than just the person that placed at Miss Universe. But I feel like that was also going against what the Lord literally let me know, that my DNA now had history making. The first, you know, like, this is why the enemy been fighting you so hard, fighting your mom so hard. This is why the enemy wanted to take your mom out from the beginning, so that you couldn't get to where you needed to get to, you know. For her, if I could keep her on this road, we won't have to worry about Chantel. And my mom had the divine audacity to say, no, I'm going to seek the Lord. And I never knew why my mom was so crazy for the Lord until I got older. And let me tell you something, she ain't touching me. I tell my Mary, I pray too. When I go to my secret place, don't bother me, please, miss. Like, that's how funny life is. But, yeah, y'all, I want you to take very special note of the patterns of your life. There were some seasons, some cycles that I didn't pull down because I didn't know what they were. But also pay attention to the things that the Lord, that you know He's graced you for. And pull blood. And when I say pull blood, like, test your DNA. Like, what has the Lord infused inside of you that He now wants to give to your generation and generation that's going to come from you? What made me so special? What made me so special? What made me so special? Everyone's testimony walk is so different. For those that went, are doing phenomenal things, that are taking up space in different areas. And then for me, that I was the least likely. But I knew my God did not have me to do all that, just not to do anything. But my testimony, as I'm wrapping it up, is really to say that when we submit ourselves to the Lord, and you might say, well, at what particular point did you really submit? I feel like early on in my pageant days, I knew I was getting more and more serious with what my walk with the Lord looked like. Because instead of just doing the religious thing, but doing the relationship thing, because I have no issue with the religious thing, but the relationship thing is very important. It was in those parts. And then 2021, coming into that year, I knew that the Lord was doing something special. And I'm now in this space trying not to limit the Lord. I'm not dreaming big enough. I realize, like, some of my dreams, I think they're big, but when I talk to other people and they say certain things, I'm like, I'm startled by what they're telling me. Like, because then I think that's more work, that's more money. And then that's when I go into that lack and that lack mindset, that poverty mindset. Like, what if I don't have enough or whatever? Because one of the things for me, and especially in security, is like, I don't ever want to have to be evicted again. You know, I don't ever want to have to face those challenges again. And so, you know, and the enemy, the closer and closer you get to the Lord, will try different ways. Like, my car getting stolen. like was so weird to me. It's like, but doing this Hallelujah challenge that I've been doing too, y'all. Daniel Lassie is that guy. All things new. All things new. Like, if that gotta go, it gotta go. I had one suitcase from Miss Universe that all crack up. I was like, God, this is like, that gotta go too. Like, everything new, all the things that you trying or whatever, all things new, all things new. Like, some things, and this was said at the birthing ground. This is during Carell's talk. She said, like, there's some things that gotta dead. You gotta let some things die for there to be growth, for there to be a renewal. And that was the same thing. I let that whole Miss Universe to do die, and then the Lord brought that back, and it just, he said, I'm not just in the glory for you, I'm gonna glory for everybody to see. You know what I mean? And those who I had shared about being evicted, those who knew prior to that, it was like, wow, like look what the Lord can do in a year. I'm sitting here thinking the Lord about to do some things in this month. I don't know when I'm gonna finally post this. I think I'm gonna post this quick. I don't think the Lord is gonna have me sit on this, but I'm in March right now. And before, I would be so like nervous getting into new months because I'm like, Lord, let this month be better than the last. Whatever the Lord for, literally. My testimony is that of persistence, resilience, resistance, but really like overcoming, you know, and doing the things that my children won't have to do, you know, doing the things that my children won't have to do. Thank y'all for listening. Continue to lean on the Lord. I was encouraged by something that a pastor said. He said, destiny is not based off of time, it's based off of encounters. And I believe that when that was placed on my heart, I did have an encounter with the Lord that he was directing me to. I did dream about Miss Universe the year before. I dreamt about me being on stage the year before, but also when I dreamt it, I thought it was for my clients because I was working with people, or I wanted to work with people. But destiny takes place when encounter happens. And so sometimes we say time and time and time in, we need to be saying encounter. Like, when you get that encounter with the Lord, nothing is going to stop anything you have going on. And I believe that as I share this testimony, the Lord is about to blow my mind this year in ways that I've never imagined. And I believe that he's connected me with people who are so sound in him that even if I try to like waver in my faith or try to freak out, nah. So destiny doesn't take time, it takes encounter. Be loving the Lord, be submitting to the Lord. You know, ask questions if you must. You know, I be asking God questions all the time, but know that his ways are better. Ways much better. His thoughts are higher. And now I'm in the space of trying not to compete with his glory of 2021. Like, I was like, Chantel, you trying to compete with Chantel of 2021. Nah, you trying to compete with God of 2021. Like, he did not. That wasn't off whim. That was already a part of the strategy. That was already part of your purpose. You don't even know. You don't even taste and see for real yet. Like, how good it's gonna get. And I won't even talk about what my expectations were coming out of this universe, because I was still looking around. Where are the endorsements? Where are the billboards? Where did this? Where did that? Where did this? Where did that? And I believe that the Lord will expose that in due time. In due time. But also, if he wants it, it'll happen no matter what. And so, we bless the Lord. Destiny does not take time, it takes encounter. Thank y'all for listening to me. Bye. I know they say y'all want us to stop doing this, but no. Bye.